things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can break through, no mountain you can move, all things are possible. There's no broken body you can raise, no soul that you can't save, all things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up, you can light it up. God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome, you already won. God of revival, you rose in victory, and now you're seated forever on the throne. So why should my heart fear what you've defeated? I will trust in you alone, 'cause there's no prison wall you can break through, no mountain you can move, all things are possible. There's no broken body you can raise, no soul that you can't save, all things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up, you can light it up. God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome, you've already won. God of revival, awaken us, come awaken us, God. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble, I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Come awaken your people, come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. Every stronghold will crumble, I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out, pour it out. The darkest night, you can light it up, you can light it up. God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome, God, you already won. God of There's no prison wall you can break through, no mountain you can move, all things are possible. There's no broken body you can raise, no soul that you can't save, all things are possible. You will stay true, even when the loss comes. Your word remains true. Peace is a promise you keep. You stay true, even in the chaos. Your word remains true, even when my mind wreaks havoc. I will be still, for I've known all along. My Jehovah Shalom, there's a peace far beyond all understanding. May ever set my heart at ease. What anxiety fails to remember, peace is a promise you keep. Peace is a promise you keep. Oh, you keep your promise. You are peace to your restless soul. Peace when my thoughts wage war. Peace to the anxious heart. That's who you are. That's who you are. Peace when my fears they sway. Peace when I feel it grow. Peace when I lose control. That's who you are. That's who you are. I found peace far beyond all understanding. Let it flow when my mind's under siege. All anxiety bows in the presence of Jesus, the keeper of peace. And peace is a promise he keeps. God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars are made to worship so alive, I could see your heart in everything you made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises so alive, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, no syllable empty or void. For once you have spoken, I'll worship so light. If the mountains bow in reverence so light, if the oceans roar your greatness so light, for if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all our praises still falls short, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. God of salvation, you chase down my heart through all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, oh God, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you so I could see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art called love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child you died to save. If you gave your life to love them, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. What measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the one behind.
Jump right into this today as we look at this big idea that every marriage is a duet. So this works perfect for the town of Branson. We believe every marriage is a duet. There are lyrics that you brought into the marriage and your spouse brought into the marriage. And the best part about being married, right, is that we get to create this song together. And the Song of Songs is the ultimate duet. It's the Solomon and the Shulamite woman lyrics coming together. And we see in chapters 1 and chapter 2, they have desire and attraction that turns into dating. In chapter 3, they get married. In chapter 4, there's a honeymoon. And the whole book is a compilation of lyrics coming back and forth, going back and forth between Solomon and the Shulamite woman. It's a beautiful picture of a duet. And we're going to jump right into it because the first one to speak that we'll see today is Solomon, and he says this about the Shulamite woman: my dove in the clefts of the rock and the hiding places on the mountainside. So every woman in here is a dove, right? We have to get to know you. We have to figure out what's in your mind. We have to figure out what makes you tick. And this is what makes marriage fun, is figuring out why you say the things you say and why you do the things you do. And look at what he goes on to say: show me your face, let me hear your voice. Now, I remind you, they're not yet married. They're caught up in attraction. They're dating. So these lyrics will make more sense when you see them from a dating couple. For your voice is sweet. It took a while. First service was way more with it. I love how the rain completely and totally affects the mood of a morning service. And your face is lovely. Right, this is a pre-engaged couple. This is a newlywed couple that's like, man, I could listen to her talk all day long. She is precious. And when she's really making a point and her voice goes a lot, I think that is so adorable. I love that she has an opinion for everything. I think this is precious, right? This is love. So he's expressing. I'm getting to know her, my dove. Coo, coo, coo. I want to draw her out. And this is what makes dating fun. This is what makes marriage fun. I want to get to know you. And then as I get to know you, like, this is the verse in the Song of Songs of curiosity and fascination. That as I get to know you, I'm fascinated with what I'm learning. Now let me ask you, do you think our culture today has really grasped this? Or do you think they get to a point, do you think couples get to a point where they're like, I've learned enough? And I've discovered things about you in the cleft of the rock and in the hiding place on the mountainside. We went to some places and I discovered some things about you that after I discovered them, I decided I don't like you so much. Right? I feel judged now that you've learned that about me. I wish I never would have shared that. And see, intimacy, the most common definition you've probably ever heard on intimacy is being fully known and fully accepted. I shared my heart, and your response was, I like it. Your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. Give me more of that. Give me more of that. And look at what this does, because now we're going to move from Solomon to the Shulamite woman. I have to keep bringing this up because it's very important. They're not yet married. Look at what it says in verse 16. Now, this is the Shulamite woman. My beloved is mine, and I am his. He browses among the lilies. In other words, this is a statement. This is a verse of exclusivity, right? One man, one woman for one lifetime. The more he gets to know me, the more I get to know him, the more we move towards oneness. The more we accept one another, the more we love one another. I know things about him. He knows things about me. And this is what creates compatibility over a long period of time. We have this term now that we use in marriage that's, you hear people use it as an excuse to divorce. We're no longer compatible. But socially, that's a socially acceptable term for we choose to no longer get along. We choose to no longer be one. And I'll say it again for all of my students and all my young friends in here, not yet married and pursuing. Don't fall for the lie that says compatibility is something you test for. It's something you stumble into. It's something you discover. No, compatibility is something you create over a long period of time. As you ask one another great questions, as you get to know one another, as you find out what's really going on. And I still, to this day, I've learned things about Amy, and we've learned things about each other. I have learned about Amy, and our duets changed over the year. We've become foodies. And if you ask Amy, what's the perfect vacation? I can tell you what the perfect vacation is for her. It's a big city, and it's walking around. Like you say, Amy, what do you want to do? Right? If I can take you somewhere for 2 days, what do you want to do? She would say, without skipping a beat, let's go to New York. Let's be in downtown. Let's get in Manhattan. And let's walk and let's eat, enjoy fine food and Diet Coke paired with it. This is our passion. Let's see a couple shows, go enjoy good food, and walk. And so, again, my wife, she's not learned how to rest. She doesn't know how to do that. She doesn't know how to value rest and doesn't know how to just chill, and probably one reason she doesn't like the beach. So I knew in June, our kids went to camp. And listen, if you're looking for a spiritual blessing for your children and for your marriage, Kanakuk camps, all right? I had no idea what dropping my kids off and having a week of party would be for Amy and I. We want them fed, and they're having the time of their life. They could have stayed 2 weeks. We only did 1 week, and next year they're doing 3 months at Kanakuk camp. I've decided I have no idea what this is going to run me, but we had so much fun with the week, we're just going to commit to the 3 months. So, but we go to New York. And I just know this is what she wants to do. And we get up in the morning, she laces up her shoes, and what are we going to do? We're going to walk. And we're going to walk. and we're going to walk. We stayed in Times Square. We walked down to Ground Zero. She knew I wanted to do that. And that's a long way. It's a lot of miles. We get down. We're walking around Ground Zero, and we had a show that afternoon, and she wanted to eat at Mark Verjourn's restaurant at the Financial Center back down at Ground Zero. But our plan was to go to the show, come out, use a cab, to get down. I was so ready for this. Oh, show, 4 miles, because 4 miles to the restaurant. But as the show ends and we're walking out, I realized I know what would make her happy more than anything. If we walk the 4 miles to dinner. And so I asked her, and you just got to see her light up. We get out of the show. I'm going to hail a cab or do Uber. And she says, and I look at her, I go, do you want to walk to dinner? We got about an hour and a half. And she goes, I mean, you just got to see her face light up. And I brought proof of it because I keep all this on my phone. I want you to know you can you can get an app that keeps track of the love you have for your spouse. And mine is called the Walk-A-Man or the Walk-A-Meter or whatever it is. And so on this is just one day of many in New York, but we started in Times Square, walked all the way down to Ground Zero, then we came up, went to Chelsea Market, back to Times Square, walked back. Can you read that? 11 and a half miles. I was so wiped out, right? 3 hours and 13 minutes. But I know for us. That's Amy loves that more than anything. And I say all that for this point. You have your own duet. It's unique to you. You get to create it. You get to write it. You get to put the lyrics together. And don't look at all the couples around you and be like, well, they do this. You can try it. We've tried the beach because, again, it's what the postcards and the commercials and everything say you're supposed to do. But that's not our duet. Our duet is different. Your duet is different. And watch this. This is the next. We're going to talk about the duet all morning. Every marriage is a duet that stirs emotions in others. Your duet stirs emotions in me. You've been around the couple that you leave after being in their presence, and it was just like, that was painful. That was exhausting. That was heavy metal right there. That was not good. That was satanic lyrics backwards is what that was when I was with that couple. And that, I can't do that anymore. Because, right, he says, oh, last Wednesday. It wasn't Wednesday, it was Tuesday. I mean, it's like that exchange the whole time. You're like, wow, it was a beautiful day. It was rainy. Okay, yeah, listen. Barones, you need to back it down just a notch. But then you've been around the couples when you leave their presence. You're like, I am refreshed. That couple refreshed me. Amy, what can we do to get around that couple more? What can we do to have a marriage that looks like theirs? What can we do? Because we've been with this couple and have decided, don't want that. Okay? But we've been with this couple, and we're like, we want that. Very important question to start with this morning. What emotions does your marriage stir in others? Are you the run-from couple? Or are you the run-to couple? Are you the, I've got to get more of this? Because as we build this out, next point, every marriage is a duet that needs backup singers harmonizing from the background. Okay, I looked up harmony this week because, again, I'm not a musician, but want to be one so bad. I'm learning the guitar. I've told you this. I'm learning the guitar. G, C, and D are the 3 chords I know. Don't plan on learning anymore. And Amy will go, something will come on the radio, and she'll go, hey, you think you can do that song? I look it up on Guitar Tab and go, they threw in a B minor. You'll never hear that song come from my guitar or lips because I don't have that many fingers to try to stretch across the guitar. But here's harmony. Harmony is the combination of simultaneously sounded musical notes to produce chords and chord progressions, listen to this, having a pleasing effect. That's what good backup singers do. They're in the background, spotlight's not on them, but when their voice comes into your duet, it adds to it. It enhances it. It makes it good. And I this week as I listen to music, and you know I listen to country music from time to time, and love country music, and it's like, when the background singers come in at the right time, and I know it's all done in a studio and stuff, but when they're on pitch and they have good harmony, it's like, man, that just brought that whole experience to a beautiful level. Watch what happens in the Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 4. This verse is kind of paralleling my passion for Ecclesiastes 9:9. Enjoy life with your wife whom you love all your meaningless days. This one is right up there because this is not Solomon. This is not the Shulamite woman. This is the daughters of Jerusalem. They come in as the backup singers to this duet, and you see them throughout the whole book. If you want a good Bible study, take a highlighter this week, and everywhere you see them speak, highlight it. It's not the majority of the text, but there's a lot of text in there where they are speaking and backing up the marriage. And here's what they say. We rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine. And for the Baptists, just say it again to help you. More than wine. We rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine. But it's from the background that we are speaking blessing over, that we are encouraging the marriages and the couples. Well, but so again, backup singing, just like those retailers, there's an art to it. And all my entertainer friends would say yes, because I have some backup singers in the show that I work in that want the stage up front. And they haven't learned the skill of being in the background. They haven't learned the skill of making the person up front with the mic or the duet up front with the mic shine. And all the entertainers said. It's like 4 of them, amen. You got to camp out here for a while. That diva that I've been dealing with. So it's a skill. But so let's break this verse down for just a little bit so we can begin learning. Okay, because this is a passion of ours. Instead of your family getting into crisis and you calling or sending them to intensive, sending them to counseling, we feel as a church we need to move into a direction where we begin equipping every follower of Jesus to back up the marriages around them, to help in all different seasons of life and all different stages of life. What can you say, what can you do to help the marriages around you? So breaking down the Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 4 a little bit. The idea behind rejoice and delight, it's a spontaneous expression of excitement and cheer. Meaning when something happens, you respond, and it's like, man, I can't believe what I just experienced. You feel this right here at a wedding. This is why when you go to a wedding, if you go to a wedding at Woodland Hills, we cheer a lot at Woodland Hills weddings. Like at the end, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Whoa, yeah. You may kiss the bride. Whoa, yeah. We keep that going because we're trying to create a viral moment on YouTube is really what we're trying to do. And then I jump over here, we face the crowd, and I go, it's a privilege and honor for me to be the first to introduce to you Mr. and Mrs., and we send them out with, whoa, yeah! So you get this, you understand this. It's what I experienced at Sight and Sound in the Jonah show when they came out and sang, I'm free. If you haven't been to Jonah, when they're doing the I'm free, something started bubbling up inside of me. I had something that had to come out. And I've told you this in the past spring, but what came out of me at this moment, right? And I was excited. I didn't want to embarrass my family, but I'm like, Lord, the Lord was stirring in me, and this is what came out. Woo! Right? That was it. Guy next to me sleeping. And you're going, come on, we just saw people go from death to life. This is amazing. And what I got is, woo! So what marriage is in your life right now when you get around this couple? Your first thought is, woo! That's rejoice and delight. Okay, you're like, well, I have this one couple that we don't do a lot of rejoicing and delighting. Are there aspects of their marriage? Are there moments in their marriage that you can point to and look at and you go, when I watch them do this, when they say this, when he opens the door for her, when she speaks words of high value over him, inside of me I'm thinking, woo! Today is all about how do we get that woo out to bless and encourage the marriages around you. Okay, so that's rejoice and delight. But then you have the word praise. Now the word praise, it's an interesting word in our English language because the Hebrew language has multiple words for praise. Best example I can give you is same thing with snow and Eskimos. Okay, Eskimos have like 18 words to describe our one word snow. In all its different forms and all of its different precipitation, they have all different words to describe it. We say snow. We say praise, but there's many words throughout the Old Testament. There's many Hebrew words that describe the word praise. And I'm going to give you a few of them before we look at what the word praise in the Song of Songs 1:4 actually means. Praise in Psalm 7:17 means to sing and make music. Okay, so if you ever hear a pastor or you ever hear a sermon where someone says, praise is not music, that's not true. Okay, praise is more than music, but praise includes music. It's part of our worship, and we have a woo moment as we sing. It also means to shine or to boast. That's Psalm 150. And you read Psalm 150, praise him, praise him, praise him, praise him. This is making the name of the Lord great. In Psalm 145:1, it means to rise up. So you lift up. In the Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 4, this is what it means. I think this is beautiful. It's an expression of gratefulness for a past event. It's an expression of gratefulness for a past event. And really, our hymns, the hymns of our faith, are rooted right here. Because when the writers of our hymns got together, it wasn't just, and Lord, I praise you because of who you are, not for all the mighty things that you have done. It was, Lord, I praise you for who you are and for all the mighty things that you have done. Okay, I remember my salvation, and when I think back to what you rescued me from, I praise you. I heard a pastor this week preaching, and I listened to like 4 or 5 sermons this week, and each one of them had profound impact on me. But this one pastor said, I hear a lot of people out there today wanting to forget their sin. Like they come to the Lord, they find the Lord, you are forgiven, but then they think it's as far as the east is from the west, I should be able to forget it. No, God does that. You're not God. He has not given you the ability to forget, but he's forgiven you. He says, why is it important that we remember? Why is it important that we can't forget? And he said 2 things that I thought were beautiful and fit right here. He said, 1, if you could forget your sin, you probably would repeat it more often. It'd be like, nobody in here probably right now is burnt. It's because you know fire will burn you. But if you could forget the truth that fire burns you, we all would be bandaged up in here right now. Turn on the stove in the morning, what's this? Right? Okay. I know not to do that because I've done it before when I was smaller. He said the second thing is, if you could forget sin, you would forget the victory that Christ has over your sin. This brings about praise in us when we are reminded. It's an expression of gratefulness for a past event. So when we praise, when we worship, we are reminded of what we have been rescued from. And so when this couple is sharing their lyrics back and forth, now the daughters of Jerusalem step in and they say, we will praise that. We will be reminded of the love that you had, because a day may come where you don't experience the same level of love that you have right now. What do happy couples and divorced couples have in common? Happy couples and divorced couples both share the same level of marital satisfaction on the day of their wedding. And an expression of gratefulness for a past event says, listen, I go back to your wedding. I remember the joy you had, and I'm grateful for it. So I will praise that. And here's the big idea. Who brings harmony to your marriage? You need to start right now thinking through the backup singers in your life, because there are some who bring great harmony to your marriage. You need to turn them up. I asked the students when they came back from camp, what was your biggest takeaway from camp? Like the number thing I asked the leaders too, what was your biggest takeaway? You know what they told me the biggest takeaway was? They said, Ted, we had a speaker who spoke on voices. And he said, we all have voices in our life, and the reality today is we all have way too many voices in our life. He says, you got to start thinking through all the voices in your life, because there's some you need to turn down. There's some you need to mute altogether. In other words, unfriend. Block, do whatever you have to do. You don't need to hear that person anymore. And then there are some you need to turn way up. Identify the people right now in your marriage and in your life. If you're single, right, you need to find the people that know how to honor, enjoy, and prioritize marriage, and turn them up in your life. Mute the ones who dishonor marriage. Mute the ones who have told you that, you should never get married because it's just too risky. Mute that voice. Mute the ones who don't know how to prioritize it. Who's leading your duet off key? Find them and mute them. And I heard my wife counseling with somebody this week. This person was out of state. And this person, we do this. We know how to do this, right? We call people who we know what they're going to say. And my wife confronted this person just by saying, you called her because you knew she would validate the decision you're thinking about right now. You were wanting someone to validate this decision, even though you know this is not the right decision. You need truth spoken in your life. So we need backup singers who will tell us what we need to hear, not what we want to hear. They will come along. Now, again, I'm going to get very practical with this today, because there's a group in here that I don't feel we've talked a whole lot about for a while on TwoIgnite Sundays. And I've experienced this a lot in the last 6 months, the last year. Parents who watch their adult children's marriage begin to fall apart, and they don't know what to say, and they don't know what to do. They'll call for advice, like, what do we do? What do I say? My son's getting a divorce. My daughter's getting a divorce. They're going through a difficult time. What can we do to help? And I see a lot of parents today clamming up, saying there's really nothing we can do to jump in and bless the marriage, bless the family of our children. And I believe there's a lot you can do, and that's how I want to take this application. It's this verse right here. It's part of our TwoIgnite messaging. It's the last word in TwoIgnite, to prioritize. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh. Okay? For this reason, the first half of this verse, we would call this a parenting implication, and the second half is the marriage implication. It's our responsibility, mom and dad, to make sure our children leave home as adults, not on a journey to become one. Academics and athletics do not raise children into adults. Parents do that. But it's this part here that we often don't talk about as we move from leaving home as adults, not prolonged adolescents or children, and becoming one in marriage. I want to talk for a bit about father and mother. What happens at this moment? Because I know I speak harshly to mom and dad at times at a wedding, where I say to the mom who says, I don't feel like I'm losing a son today, I feel like I'm gaining a daughter. I tell her, nope, you're losing a son. Back away. And the idea there is cut the strings. So I want to talk to mom and dad for just a few moments as we close out. And I'm just simply calling this backing up your child's marriage. How do you do that? Because, Ted, I'm supposed to cut the strings. We know that, and we're trying to figure out, how do I cut the strings and slip into the background and bless their marriage and spend some time there? So let's look at this. We'll go through these quick. Number one, cut the strings. By separating from your child relationally, emotionally, and financially. This means they're going to have to buy their own Starbucks, okay? They're off your friends and family plan, okay? They're going to buy their own clothes. And here's what I tell people. They're like, well, how else do we separate? Well, you separate relationally, emotionally, and financially, and if that doesn't work, and if necessary, you separate geographically. And I love the people, like, I live next door to my parents. That may not be the best idea. That may be a challenge. That may be difficult. So we understand the cutting of the strings physically, emotionally, and relationally. But number two, then what does a parent do after that? Bring harmony to their duet without turning it into a trio or a quartet. Okay, so you're here. This is your son. This is your daughter that you love. And you know that dad at the wedding who, when he's giving his daughter away and he's speaking blessing over him, and you hear him speaking to his daughter, in the ear, and it goes like, he knows what's happening. It's at that moment he's separating from his daughter, and he's moving back to the background. And I think this is a transition that we don't talk about a whole lot in the church. And how do we do this? How do you avoid? And another idea for trio or quartet is just enmeshment. Like, mom and dad are too much the ally to their child. And this is number three. Advocate for the couple, not just your child. Okay, you need to bless the marriage, and don't be that person that your daughter or son calls to bash the spouse. Guard against that. Speak words of high value over the marriage and the value of marriage, and honoring and enjoying it and prioritizing it. Number four, guard your heart from treating your child as a victim. We do this too often, where the other spouse, the in-law, is the one with the problem. You've done everything right. No. You love your child. You're grateful for your child, but you have to ask the questions of personal responsibility. What are you doing to contribute to this? Number five, avoid labeling your son-in-law or daughter-in-law. Don't place the label on them. I've worked with some families lately where there's major conflict in the marriage, but as I dig into it, I realize there's no abuse going on. Emotional, physical, verbal. They both just argue a lot. But one of the parents has labeled, because the daughter labeled this, is a pastor that I'm working with, and labeled the pastor an abuser. He's abusing me, and a lot of people are moving towards abuse quickly, and I don't want to minimize at all physical, emotional, or verbal abuse. But I have discovered some cases lately where people are running to that so they can have a reason to divorce and continue dating the person they have over here on the side. And so that label's being thrown around. And when I meet with them and they're like, well, he's an abuser, I want to sometimes look at the one who's accusing and say, you know what? You scream more in here than he does. You scream and yell. So it's not just a male thing, it's a female thing as well. You have to ask the question. It got real serious in here, and some of you are like, I know that's a whole message, and I don't want to minimize anything, but be very careful with labels. Be very careful. And then number 6, I love this. Leverage Christmas and anniversaries. Use those opportunities. I heard of a couple in Phoenix. The lady was actually on staff at a church, and she has 5 brothers and sisters, so there's 6 of them all together. And her parents, I thought this was a beautiful idea. Her parents called them all and said, I want you to create and write out your most creative date ideas and then bring them home with you at Christmas. So all 6 couples showed up at Christmas, and Grandma and Grandpa said, we're going to listen to every date, and then you all are going to vote on the most creative date. And the most creative date gets an all-expenses-paid vacation, too. And I thought, that's incredible. That's a grandma and grandpa. That's a mom and a dad backing up the marriages of their children to say, we value what you have going on right here. We will take the kids for a week. The grandparents are like, I knew we were going to be getting in trouble with this one. We have to have them for a whole week. Grandma and grandpa, let me help you out here. You can scholarship them to Kanakuk. That's a good idea right there. You got to admit it. I also want to encourage parents. Bless your children, even the ones who are going through crisis. You're like, nope, I just feel at that point I need to stay out of it and let them work it out. And I'm going to ask you another question. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose as your kids begin to separate, as your kids begin to divorce? And I know many parents who do nothing because they don't know what to do. They don't know where to take it. Let me give you some of this encouragement. Don't let attacks on your past attempts keep you from reaching out now and in the future. Continue to back up their marriage. Don't let reminders of your past mistakes keep you from trying again. You remember when you got into it years ago and words were exchanged and it was harsh? No, everything's new. His mercies are new every day. Don't let that keep you from starting to do the right thing now. Don't let anger from a hurting family member, and you will experience this. None of your business. Butt out. Stay out of my business. Keep you from loving and caring for them. Go after them. You're like, Ted, I'm not a writer. I don't know what to say or what to do. You can come onto our website. We'll have this. I want to give you just some ideas to get started on what you write underneath the I rejoice, I delight, I praise. You can copy and paste these. Don't say Pastor Ted said, Woodland Hills said. Take these words and make them your own. This is you, Mom, blessing your daughter and son-in-law's marriage. This is you, Dad, blessing your son and daughter-in-law's marriage. Bless them. And you can say things like this. I desire to bless your marriage by speaking words of high value over both of you. Your marriage is important to me. We put that on the inside cover to just get you started and the juices flowing. I rejoice in how you prioritize your marriage by spending quality time together. I love that you take a date night every week. I love it. And anything we can do to help you with that date night, let us be a part of it. Bring the kids over. We'd love to be a part of it. I delight in the way you speak highly of each other in public. We went out to dinner a couple of months ago, and when you held the door open for her, and then she came in, and just the little pet names you call her, I love that. When I see that, it does something in me. It stirs emotions in me. It causes me to rejoice and to cheer. I praise your love and the commitment to your vows. I know it hasn't been an easy season. I know it's been challenging. I know this illness that you're going through. I know what you're going through with your son or with your daughter. It's tough. And I know how much you love him, and I know how much he or she, they're draining right now on the family, and they're kind of centered around that right now. But I just want you to know you made a commitment to your vows, and I'm proud of you through the difficult times for staying true to your vows. I rejoice in knowing you will be together until one of you lays the others in the arms of Jesus or until the Lord returns. I sat Thursday afternoon in a Panera Bread in Phoenix, Arizona with one of our elders, Jim Sedlacek, who moved last year, and Jim's still in mourning over his wife. And there we sat. We looked like two lumps on a log, sitting there talking about marriage, talking about in Jim's life and what the Lord has done in his life, and he's still seeking to bless and encourage couples. I delight in how you accept one another's goals, dreams, and plans for the future. I actually love how you guys work at that with each other. I love watching you ask each other questions. What is it you want to do? What's your dream? Dream is like life to a marriage. Dreaming breathes life into marriage. Dreaming gives you anticipation in the future. If you have a newborn right now, you'll get through that. Right? You will sleep again. You will sleep together again. It will happen. I praise the example you have set for your children and your grandchildren. I rejoice in how you enjoy life together. I delight in how you esteem each other as highly valuable. There's note takers in here right now going, this is the most painful. I didn't get any of that. You can come onto our website, and we're going to have it there for you in the notes. And just take this, and hopefully it gets the juices flowing, and you can begin to write personally to your children, to your brothers, to your sisters, to bless their marriage. And I'll end with this question. Again, we talked about it at the beginning. When people think about your marriage, do they praise your love? And some of you are like, I need backup singers in my life. And we have plenty of opportunities around here. We have home groups. And maybe you need a home group right now that you need to turn way up. You need to plug in. You need to sign up. You need to get into a community of believers. Because you know when you go to work, you're talking to the people who've been through a bad divorce. And they're going to encourage you. Just the divorce is like ripping off a Band-Aid. Get it done, get it over with quickly, and then you can move on and enjoy life. You need backup singers that move you towards the Lord, not away from him. You need backup singers that move you towards your commitment in marriage, not away from it. You need backup singers that will teach you and bless you as you honor, enjoy, and prioritize marriage, even through difficult seasons. And mom and dad, you get the opportunity to be that. And I would encourage you, start with your own marriage. Is your marriage one? This is what I told Amy. I have lots of issues in life and things that I'll struggle with and things I won't do well. I want my children to look at our marriage, Amy, and say one day, we want that. We want that. I don't want my 18-year-old, my 20-year-old, my 25-year-old looking at my marriage going, yeah, don't want that. We can have something better than that. Mom and dad, may your marriage be an example of the gospel of Jesus, giving to one another, sacrificing for one another, and your children look at that. And I can't think of a better backup singer than your kids. I can't imagine a better thing to hear. My daughter, she's 11, and she still calls me daddy. And I said, Corinne, don't ever give me another thing in this world, another present, another gift. Just never stop calling me daddy. Because nothing will bring me greater joy than when she's 30 years old, if the Lord continues to leave me here, for my daughter to go, Daddy, I rejoice and delight in you, and I will praise your love more than wine. I'm working towards that. And my encouragement is for all of us to be a great backup singer. Let's look at our own marriage. For those of you who are single, I pray right now you start finding the backup singers, the people that will bless you and speak words of high value over you and over what you're feeling and over what's driving you. Would you pray with me?